nobody to really, be communal with. This area is not exactly friendly to a lot of people that come here, let alone people who try to stay here. And then when you come here to a DHS office and you want to advance yourself and go forward, and you might need some help, you run into barriers. Now, as far as needing some kind of therapeutic help because of, being assaulted in 2010 when I, ended up in the hospital, that's never been an issue, as far as, wanting to build a bridge and get over it, the problem with Susan is the fact that on the other side of that bridge is Portland, just like back when I first moved to Baker, I moved there and I found out that that place is not the greatest place to live, back in the early, 2000s. It was very harsh reality, where you could walk the streets on your way to work and be called the N-word, when you can walk to and from work and be called the N-word, have people throw stuff at you, you live in Grande, and that, potentially happens here. When you live at your home and then to have Susan say that, hey, even though, you have video of this happening to you and it does happen, maybe you need therapy because, therapy, it's like, maybe that's not rude that you just said that because, this is happening to me and it's happening to me so often that maybe I've asked for help to people who are in a responsible position. But instead of getting that help,
well, I think therapies can sometimes offer coping strategies.
And as far as a coping strategy goes, what do you think the word help would entail? Help me cope with this. Help me resolve this issue. So therefore, once it's resolved, I can cope. That it's happened and that it's passed. That's what help would mean. That's kind of like when you go to the doctor. You go to the doctor helps you.
So Nick, what do you want from VR?
As far as, what kind of, services that could be helped, now it could be, as much as, fuel, but, now I have, once I port my voucher, I have 120 days, to get a place in which, like I said, if you guys had helped when I had came to you with this whole, as far as, what's a job plan, a goal, you wanted to go there with the whole, he has trauma, maybe he should go see somebody. Or
Right, if I can say a few things here. So there's been this disagreement over the job goal. If I had this case a few months ago and this was still an issue where you were in Eastern Oregon, I probably would have fought over that issue in terms of developing an employment plan because a lot of the concerns are based on a 2011 psychological assessment. I would have encouraged Nick to agree to do a new assessment because I think that if you had new information that might help resolve some of these issues over the debate about what kind of career is appropriate. I've reviewed the entire file though, so I know the eligibility and I know the history here, and I know that a lot of the issues were about the employment that was being sought in Eastern Oregon wasn't appropriate for what Nick's actual employment goals were. So had I had this case a few months ago, I would have fought that basically and tried to get a different plan developed. Right now though, the question is what can be done at this point, and I think what we're hoping for is for some kind of assistance with going to Portland and getting the training classes that are needed.
And also, as far as eligibility goes, I offered several times to bring in, like I have today, the actual, paperwork and file from Social Security that actually determines my eligibility for Social Security, which actually contains information from CHD, which is current.
Sure, great.
Which-
If
which,
you've got it, we'd love to talk to
you
you.
know, which, you know, like I said, contains, you know, all this whole, you know, where do you stand on your whole attack, and where do you stand on, your current home life, because I discussed that with her as far as this whole, you're bringing up this old report from Alan McCandless, and that's, I went there quite a few times during our meetings, and it's like, as far as this old report from Alan, I didn't really talk to that guy. I don't think that report should be there, but as far as, you want me to go see CHD again, I have a report that's pretty current from them, in which I was there, I sat on their couch, it was quite fluffy, and we talked, and if you want to read it, I have it, Social Security read it,
Yeah, we'd like to have a copy of that.
I have this gigantic thick file, it's about yay thick, slightly less thick than the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I offered it all the way back at the beginning of the year.
So if we don't have a copy of it, I'd love to take a copy of it. Matt, the other thing that I think is important is that...
as far as eligibility goes, I offered it to Fran.
Okay. In terms of the courses that Nick is looking at registering in, those are free courses. There is not any expense to attend those courses. The challenge that Nick has run into is that they are not offered in a timely way out here in Eastern Oregon. And since he has been registered in that program, I don't believe there have been any classes here that have been offered. So as soon as they are offered, if Nick is still here in Eastern Oregon, he would certainly be able to just register and attend those classes, and there's not an expense tied to them. The problem from a VR perspective and from his employment goal perspective is, if we're really talking about bathing adults with disabilities, transferring clients. There are some classes that would be real appropriate for Nick that would include understanding end-of-life issues, memory issues, I think, with Alzheimer's. So there are some courses that I think might fit well with Nick's own disabilities, but that caregiving role, and we have asked Nick to reach out to a couple of the caregiving facilities here in Grande. He has never brought us information that he has followed through with contacting those programs to just do some job inquiries and some exploration on what's available there. So Nick may have an update on that.
I actually did.
Okay.
All right, I did actually make contact with them.
With Wildflower Lodge? Or?
I made contact with them a long time ago, and I told you what happened with them. That Wildflower Lodge, we're looking for CNAs, and that I don't have any CNA anything. I'm not a certified nursing assistant in any way. And that's what happened.
So that's not a job opportunity for you? So.
Yes, because I'm not a CNA, and that all the nursing homes around here require CNA credentials. And not only did I check into them, I checked into them a long time ago and went over that. And
Nick has had some other job leads here, but and we've tried to help him with those, but they also do not fit with his disability. So I guess I need to back up because I'm not a housing program. I can't just sort of give Nick gas and say, go to Portland and check out your housing. I think we need to problem solve that in a different way. And what I was creatively offering, I think when I think about Nick's situation is if there are some of these free courses in Portland that are appropriate to his disability, whether it's end-of-life issues or Alzheimer's care, we might be able to fund one trip down to Portland for him to attend some of those classes. But the challenge that I have with that is we're not supporting the end goal. And so it's a little bit tricky in saying, okay, go down and explore this. We can call it an assessment activity to see if he'll do well in the classes, which I'm sure Nick will. But again, it does not fit well with his disability-related issues or the job market here in Eastern Oregon. So if Nick works with us...
When you say job market in Eastern Oregon, Now, when you actually log in to the actual um, Oregon Home Care Commission registry, now when you look at the job wants page for Eastern Oregon, there typically is no jobs. There is no clients hiring. But should you try to look in Western Oregon, it's divided by every little county, all right? And every one of those counties, there's thousands and thousands and thousands, and each page is by 50 to 100 clients, and those pages could go on for hundreds, if not thousands, of pages. And there's job opportunities everywhere. It's just in Oregon, things are sparse, spread out, and there's more trees. So when it comes down to Portland, not only is the training classes there, but there is thousands of times more, employment opportunity while taking the training classes. For, when you look through the newsletter, you see at the towards the last page how they show the full calendar and how all those classes just happen to take place Monday through Saturday. You could take, so many classes, and depending on the help wanted, some clients could be looking for somebody who doesn't have a lot of, training classes. Others could be looking for somebody who has 15 different trainings under the belt. They're looking for somebody that, either is making the base pay or somebody who gets paid a whole bunch. The difference is like I said, here in Eastern Oregon, yeah, here there isn't really a job market. That is true. But as far as supporting, this whole home care thing, there is a lot of potential in the West. And as to why you're not supporting it, that's a little strange because, there's a lot of jobs to be had. And I could have had one of those jobs a long time ago.
So Nick, I'd like to kind of wrap up and make sure that Matt and you and we are all on the same page. What I would like to
Is there somebody in that office that works with aging and people with disabilities? Because we have somebody like that up front here in this office who can tell you a little bit about the registry page, and they can actually go over, which like be on that website without telling you, because you can't give up client information, and they can tell you about how, when you click on there, and there's just row after row after row of names.
Yeah, I would tend to agree that there are better.
There's so many people, and like I said, not just, the 4 classes that are required for you to be even, referred through the registry, so that way you can actually call people or email them, or, just to even get a hold of them, because, a lot of times it's, all right, I went into a few classes, I sent a few emails, make sure, hey, you might get a call from this guy, this is my phone number, I'm a real person, I'm a home care worker, this is my provider number. I recently attended all my, somewhat classes. Are you still looking for somebody? And a lot of these people have immediate need. Some might have their phone number listed next to immediate need, others don't. But still, a lot of these opportunities really are over there.
So what I would like to suggest is that if Nick can bring me in information about the trainings in the Portland area, and I know there are some on there that talk about professional.
You can use that one, because I've shown you that one before so many times. And
so do you have dates in there, Nick? Can you show me the dates of a training?
I can send you an email right now of
so can I just finish the second?
Of the entire
can I just
website,
finish for a second?
And it'll have the entire. It'll give you a date every single month the newsletter comes out, because I've sent you an email.
So the last time you were in here, let me just interject here. The last time you were in here, we looked up the newsletter together, and there was no newsletter posted. You and I sat right there and looked at the computer.
And if you go on, and remember what I said, you go on Facebook, and there's a bunch of home care workers who were complaining about how the newsletter was late.
Okay, well, let me.
And I'm all like, you guys, I'm like, are you aware that you guys have a web page? And you're like, yeah, I know that DHS has a web page on Facebook. I know that you guys are on social media. I'm all like, and yet you never look at it. There are home care people who live in Eastern Oregon who complain all the time that there are never any classes over here. But when there are classes, you know, the few classes that are here, not that many people actually show up. So some people go on Facebook and go, hey, you know, please show up to some of these classes, that way more classes do show up. But when I do come to these meetings, I send you emails about these classes happening, and Fran actually printed up, you know, individual pages of this newsletter, and we sat there and looked through it. But when I went to a meeting with, you know, you and her, it's a joke.
Okay, so I need to stop you for a
you know,
second.
you gotta
Nick,
understand that, you know, a
because
person gets
Matt,
tired.
We're talking about 6 to 8 months ago.
I sent Matt a copy of the web page where all the newsletters are posted.
Okay.
And
so let me
Matt
just
looked
wrap
through
up,
it.
because
It exists.
we're running out of time, Nick, and I really want to have a jump off point for us to move forward. So
you want to have a
Matt,
jump off
the
point
last
to move
time
forward,
that
huh?
Nick was in here, we tried to look up
October
this
30th.
information. It was not available. We asked Nick to bring it forward. It looks like he's brought a newsletter forward to this meeting. What I would be asking Nick to do is to present to me some actual training dates that he wants to attend in Portland, and then he will have to verify that his attendance. Our program will be able to pay for his gas money down and back to Portland. We will not pay lodging while he's there, but I will pay the gas money to get him to that training, because those trainings are periodically offered here. If he brings me those dates, if he confirms his attendance, I will put gas in his truck to get him to Portland and back. If he uses that opportunity to connect with housing and do some other things on his own time, great. You know, I want to support Nick. I want to support him getting to a community where he feels safe and can work and be a part of that community. Again, I want to emphasize.
But hold on.
No,
now,
I want to finish a couple
hold on.
things.
Now
We
I
are
have
not
this notepad here, in which I've done that with this notepad, where I will write down dates and tell you about all these classes that are happening either nearby or whatnot.
So we're talking about from this point forward.
Yeah, well,
not
from
in
this
the
point
past.
from this point on.